All right, so picture this, right? You land that awesome project, the one you know will put you on the map. But then things go south. Materials are late, subcontractors are using the wrong blueprints. Total nightmare. Sound familiar? Happens all the time in construction, but I'm going to tell you. The secret to sidestepping all that, building a company that actually consistently delivers, often it's something less about concrete and steel. It's company culture. That's what today's deep dive is all about. We're going straight to the source with Owen Hager's LinkedIn article, Building a Winning Culture in Your Construction Company, 10 Key Areas. And look, this isn't just some generic business advice. It's the real deal, made for construction. Owen Hager, he's the guy behind Contractor Systems. He spent years helping construction businesses in the UK really make it, so he knows what works to build a winning team, especially in such a tough industry, right? One thing that really hit me was him saying leadership is learned, not taught. Interesting, especially in construction. What do you think?
It is, yeah. And you know what's cool? Hager connects that idea to how hands-on this industry is. It's not about some fancy degree. It's about being on those job sites, climbing the ladder. Think about a site foreman, work their way up, seeing every problem under the sun. Making those tough calls under pressure with real consequences, that's leadership you can trust, wouldn't you say?
Totally. Having worn those steel-toed boots means something. It reminds me of this one project manager I'm working with.
And that's exactly where Hager's next point comes in, communication. It's the bridge between leading and doing. He's got this example, a miscommunication about a delivery ended up costing them thousands in delays.
Oh, I bet. Happens all the time, sadly.
Right. So it's more than just barking orders. It's about building a culture where everyone's on the same page, clear and simple. Daily toolbox talks, using tech like project management apps, keeping everyone in the loop, even subcontractors who are only there for a bit.
Like everyone's speaking the same language, from the CEO to the apprentice, right?
Exactly. That shared understanding is how you build a company culture that values productivity, which Hager talks about a lot. He breaks it down into two things, individual and team.
And that's got to be tough for some construction companies, especially those who've been around. You've got these amazingly skilled people, but getting them to work as a tight unit, that's another thing.
And Hager's really practical there. He's not saying work harder, but smarter. He talks about this company cut wasted time by 20% just by making their material tracking better. They were losing time and money just trying to find misplaced lumber. Can you believe that?
It's wild how something so simple, just organizing your stuff, can make such a difference to your bottom line. You know, they say time is money, especially in construction, right?
No doubt. And Hager's point is this whole efficiency thing, it's not just on each person, it's about everyone working together to streamline, get rid of those bottlenecks.
Even those small changes can snowball into big wins across the whole project.
Exactly. And that kind of leads us to another big thing when it comes to building a winning culture, strategic growth. Hager talks about how construction's always changing, new tech, materials, sustainability, the whole shebang. He says companies need to be ahead of the curve, not just reacting, but thinking ahead about growth.
So not just being great at what you've always done, but looking ahead, seeing those changes coming, maybe even taking some risks.
That's it. He uses this analogy of a construction company being like a tree. You can keep growing taller, fighting for the same sunlight, or you can branch out, find new ways to grow, new resources.
So instead of just being the concrete guys, maybe they become the Concrete Andy Sustainable Building Solutions Company, offering like green building expertise or specializing in recycled materials.
Now you're getting it. That's how you stay ahead of the game. And Hager says that's how companies don't just survive, they thrive.
And speaking of competition, I think having a strong company culture is huge when it comes to sales. Now, I know when some people hear sales, they think used car lots, pushy salespeople, that kind of thing. But Hager has a totally different take on it.
He says in construction, sales shouldn't be about being slick or pushy. It's got to be part of that strong culture you've built.
So less about selling, more about showing what you bring to the table, that confidence that you deliver, letting that speak for itself.
Exactly. If your company's all about integrity, transparency, truly caring about your clients, that's going to show in everything you do, from that first bid to the final walkthrough.
It's about building trust, not just buildings, right?
Nailed it. And that trust thing, super important with contracts, which can get pretty complicated. Hager says a good company culture can actually give you an advantage in negotiations,
Because you're not just trying to get every last cent. You're there to work together, find what's best for everyone.
That's the idea. It's about being open, Clear expectations, finding that middle ground, which leads to smoother projects, better relationships long term.
It's like you're setting the stage for success before you even break ground.
And, all that, the trust, the being clear, it's really important when it's time to actually get things done, which is what Hager talks about next. Management.
And that's where things can get a little, well, messy in construction, right? You're not just managing projects. You've got personalities, deadlines, budgets. And let's be real, sometimes it feels like you're herding cats.
It's a lot to handle, for sure. But Hager, he gets it. He talks about how important the human side of management is in this industry. He says, good construction managers, they can't just be good at logistics, they gotta be masters of communication, delegation, the whole bit. Knowing when to give people the reins, but still be in control, making sure everyone's accountable, but in a way that's supportive.
So like that balance between giving people space to do their thing, but also making sure they have what they need to succeed, right?
Exactly. And that's not something you learn overnight. It takes time, making mistakes, having someone show you the ropes. But in the end, it's about everyone feeling like they own their work, taking initiative, knowing what they do matters.
Because at the end of the day, it's a team effort, right? You need that trust, that respect, that shared drive to be the best.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us to Hager's last point, what it all comes down to. Execution. This is where the rubber meets the road, where plans turn into buildings.
And I think it's safe to say, in construction, execution is about more than just following the instructions. It's thinking on your feet, dealing with the unexpected, making sure that even when things get tough, the quality is still there.
Absolutely. And Hager says the key to that flawless execution, it goes back to that strong company culture we keep talking about. When you've got a team that's talking to each other, trusting each other's skills, taking pride in what they do, all working towards the same goal, that's when you see projects finished on time, on budget, blowing everyone away.
It's like that saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A good company culture, it lifts everyone up, and you don't just get good projects, you get something that lasts.
You got it. It's about creating a company people want to be a part of, that clients trust without even thinking, and that, in the end, makes a difference, one building at a time.
That's a great way to put it. So we've gone through a lot today, digging into Owen Hager's 10 key areas to build a winning company culture in construction. But before we wrap up, just something to think about. Building that kind of culture, it's not a one-and-done thing. It's a process, right?
It's about always looking at what's working, what's not, being open to feedback, trying new things, letting everyone have a voice.
So this week, think about just one thing you can do to make your company's culture a little bit stronger. Maybe it's a new communication tool, a mentorship program, even just taking a moment to say good job. Because even the small things add up, and they can create a better, stronger, more successful experience for everyone. Until next time, keep building something amazing.